Power is never accidental. It is carved with precision, patience, and, at times, cruelty. Leaders who dominate history are not those who act on impulse or rely on goodwill. They are the ones who understand the hidden laws that govern influence, manipulation, and control. The world rarely admires these truths openly, yet those who grasp them move silently while others stumble, believing that virtue alone can secure loyalty or obedience. To observe a ruthless leader in action is to witness a mastery of timing, psychology, and strategy, a cold, calculated orchestration of human behavior designed to bend circumstances in their favor. They do not seek mere survival or popularity. They seek the permanence of power, the kind that endures beyond the fleeting applause of crowds. The first law of a ruthless leader is clarity of vision. While others are distracted by petty conflicts or illusions of fairness, the strategist sees the battlefield, the political, social, or corporate battlefield, as a complete map. Every opponent, ally, and circumstance is a piece on this board, and each must be positioned with purpose. A leader who lacks this clarity is like a ship adrift. Their movements reactive, their decisions fragmented. But when vision is precise, every interaction becomes a calculated step toward domination. They plan not only for today, but for months, years, and decades ahead, understanding that true power is cumulative, built quietly through foresight and discipline. Manipulation is often misunderstood. It is not deception for the sake of dishonesty. Rather, it is the careful shaping of perception. A ruthless leader knows that humans are creatures of emotion, prone to biases, fears, and desires. To influence behavior, they appeal to these impulses without the target realizing they are being guided. A compliment here, a subtle threat there, a promise of opportunity or a whispered doubt, each carefully deployed to elicit the desired response. The mastery lies in subtlety. The less a person senses control, the more willingly they comply. This is why history's most effective leaders often appear charming, even benevolent. While orchestrating strategies that secure their supremacy, timing, more than any other factor, separates the ruthless from the reckless. Action without consideration is chaos. Hesitation can be fatal. Leaders who excel know the exact moment to strike, to withdraw, to offer mercy, or to impose pressure. They study patterns of behavior, anticipate reactions, and adjust their moves as circumstances evolve. A leader who misjudges timing, even with a perfect plan, loses advantage. Conversely, a well-timed maneuver can achieve dominance with minimal resistance, demonstrating that patience and observation are as crucial as courage or intellect. The cultivation of fear is another hidden strategy. Fear is not wielded through overt brutality alone. It is embedded in the reputation and perception of inevitability. A leader who commands respect by competence, decisiveness, and a track record of unyielding results fosters fear without striking directly. Opponents hesitate, subordinates obey, and rivals second-guess themselves. Fear is leveraged as a silent weapon, ensuring that others act in ways that benefit the strategist without constant intervention. Yet, a masterful leader balances fear with respect. Too much cruelty breeds rebellion. Too much leniency invites contempt. The equilibrium of fear and admiration solidifies authority. Understanding alliances is equally crucial. No leader dominates entirely in isolation. Strategic partnerships, whether temporary or long-term, amplify power. However, a ruthless leader distinguishes between convenience and loyalty. Allies are chosen for utility, influence, or leverage rather than sentiment. Each alliance is a transaction, each relationship a calculated investment. The most subtle leaders maintain multiple options, never binding themselves fully to one faction or individual, keeping rivals uncertain, and retaining flexibility to exploit changing circumstances. Information is currency. The ruthless understand that knowledge of intentions, weaknesses, and opportunities is the foundation of control. Leaders cultivate networks, gather intelligence, and observe patterns relentlessly. Secrets are currency, and those who hold them dictate outcomes. A leader may appear passive while quietly absorbing every detail of human behavior around them. This collection of insight allows them to anticipate challenges, preempt threats, and exploit openings before rivals even recognize them. Silence, observation, and selective disclosure are as powerful as any public decree or military maneuver. Lastly, resilience in the face of adversity defines enduring power. Challenges, betrayals, and unexpected crises are inevitable. What separates ordinary leaders from the ruthless is the ability to adapt without losing composure. Emotional discipline, strategic recalibration, and a capacity to endure pressure transform obstacles into tools. Adversity becomes a test, revealing both character and competence. The leader who reacts predictably to crises loses advantage. The one who adjusts invisibly maintains momentum and deepens influence. Ruthless leaders are not born. They are shaped by observation, experience, and relentless self-discipline. Their actions, often invisible to the casual observer, follow a hidden architecture of laws that govern human interaction. They wield power silently, understanding that overt displays may achieve temporary gains but rarely ensure long-term supremacy. History's dominant figures, from the political halls of empires to the corridors of modern corporations, share these traits: vision, timing, manipulation, control of perception, strategic alliances, information mastery, and resilience. Each operates under the unspoken rule that mastery of self and others is the ultimate path to invincibility. As we continue, the subsequent numbers will reveal the specific strategies these leaders employ to outmaneuver competitors, consolidate influence, and maintain their grip over volatile environments. By examining these hidden laws, one can understand not only the anatomy of power, but also how to anticipate and navigate the complex dynamics of authority in any arena. Mastery is never obvious. It is always subtle, concealed in the choices that are unseen but felt. Those who internalize these lessons approach challenges with the mindset of a strategist rather than a participant, observing, calculating, and acting with precision. In this first number, we uncover the foundational principles, the underlying psychology and discipline that define ruthless leadership. These truths are often uncomfortable because they confront the illusion that morality or benevolence alone can secure influence. The reality is harsher. Power thrives in the shadows of perception, manipulation, and calculated action. Recognizing these hidden strategies equips one to operate not as a passive observer of history, but as an active participant, capable of navigating complexity with clarity and control. By internalizing these lessons, one develops the mental framework to think strategically, act decisively, and ultimately wield power that endures. Number 2, the art of manipulating perception and loyalty. Ruthless leaders do not simply command, they craft reality. The first and most powerful weapon in their arsenal is perception. Humans are inherently limited in perspective. They interpret the world not as it is, but as they are guided to see it. A masterful leader exploits this limitation, shaping how allies, adversaries, and the public perceive their actions, intentions, and competence. Perception becomes more important than fact, because belief drives behavior. When people believe a leader is omnipotent, infallible, or untouchable, they act in ways that reinforce that belief, often voluntarily. This is the subtle yet terrifying power of controlled perception. To manipulate perception, ruthless leaders deploy a combination of visibility and mystery. They are present enough to be recognized as influential, yet enigmatic enough to remain unpredictable. Allies see their decisiveness. Rivals sense an inscrutable calculation behind every word and action. Public gestures, carefully timed speeches, or symbolic acts are crafted to suggest authority without revealing vulnerabilities. The best leaders understand that too much transparency diminishes control, while too much secrecy invites suspicion. By balancing openness and enigma, they create an aura of inevitability, an invisible gravity that draws obedience and deters opposition. Loyalty, in this context, is never assumed. It is earned, tested, and manipulated. A ruthless leader recognizes that human allegiance is fragile, subject to incentives, fears, and shifting interests. To secure loyalty, they employ both reward and restraint. Promises of advancement, public recognition, and exclusive opportunities are juxtaposed with subtle reminders of consequences for disobedience. This duality ensures that devotion is not blind sentiment but rational choice. Subordinates comply not merely out of respect, but because they calculate that alignment with the leader is in their best interest. Conversely, those who stray or even hesitate experience the quiet yet unmistakable power of corrective action. Masterful leaders also exploit competition within their ranks. By subtly encouraging rivalries, they ensure that ambition is redirected into productive channels. Subordinates compete for favor, recognition, and influence, yet the ultimate victor is the leader who controls the system. Internal tension prevents stagnation, fosters innovation, and maintains focus, but it is carefully managed. Leaders who allow unchecked rivalries risk chaos. Those who stifle ambition entirely invite complacency. The balance lies in cultivating productive competition while preserving overall loyalty. Communication is another tool of strategic manipulation. Every message, whether direct or indirect, is layered with intention. Leaders speak in tones that convey authority, hint at possibilities, or plant seeds of doubt. They understand that words are not merely information. They are instruments that can influence decision-making, shape alliances, and provoke reactions. Silence is equally potent. Choosing when not to speak often conveys more power than the most eloquent speech, because it forces others to project meaning, revealing their assumptions and weaknesses. A leader who masters timing, content, and delivery in communication creates a world in which others respond predictably, guided by the invisible hand of strategy. Ruthless leaders are also skilled at identifying and exploiting psychological vulnerabilities. They observe behavior, listen to patterns, and note inconsistencies. Everyone has fears, desires, and biases. The effective strategist maps these traits and uses them to anticipate actions. A subtle gesture, a carefully chosen word, or a timely omission can trigger compliance, uncertainty, or self-doubt in a target. Manipulation is not about brute force. It is about nudging behavior in desired directions while remaining unseen. It is both art and science, psychology applied with precision. Trust, paradoxically, is both essential and dangerous. Leaders cultivate trust not as an emotional bond, but as a strategic instrument. They offer glimpses of reliability to reinforce loyalty, while reserving the right to withhold, delay, or redirect trust when circumstances demand. This calculated application ensures that others depend on the leader for guidance, resources, or decision-making, consolidating influence. At the same time, it maintains the leader's freedom to act independently, unbound by others' expectations or demands. Another hidden strategy involves controlling information flow. In any organization or social structure, knowledge equates to power. Leaders who monopolize information, or selectively distribute it, dictate the perceptions and decisions of those around them. Transparency is carefully limited. Secrets are preserved as leverage. A subordinate who believes they understand the full situation is easier to predict than one who constantly questions the leader's motives. By managing what is known and unknown, the leader shapes reality for everyone, directing actions without visible coercion. Ruthless leaders also embrace the art of timing in human behavior. Every action, suggestion, or challenge is executed when it will have maximum effect. Rewards are given when motivation is high. Warnings are issued when compliance is wavering. Interventions occur when consequences are unavoidable. Understanding the natural ebb and flow of human emotion. Attention and ambition allows leaders to act with precision, striking at the psychological weak points of both allies and adversaries. Finally, a key aspect of maintaining dominance is the cultivation of an image of inevitability. Leaders who appear inevitable, those whose success seems preordained, encourage compliance and deter resistance. Rivals hesitate because defiance seems futile. Subordinates align themselves in anticipation of advantage. This perception is maintained through a combination of past successes, strategic visibility, and subtle signaling of capability. When executed correctly, it creates an environment where people act as if the leader's will is destiny itself. In this number, we see that power is not merely exercised through force or authority. It is orchestrated through perception, loyalty, communication, and psychological mastery. A ruthless leader recognizes that humans are predictably irrational, and that by shaping beliefs and controlling information, they can guide behavior with minimal visible effort. Manipulation is not a mark of weakness or deceit. It is a tool of strategy, a necessary instrument for maintaining influence over complex, dynamic systems. By understanding these hidden mechanisms, one can see why truly powerful leaders operate silently, their control often invisible yet universally felt. They cultivate loyalty while managing rivalry, manipulate perception without exposing intent, and shape reality so that others act in ways that reinforce their authority. These lessons reveal that leadership is not an art of charisma alone. It is a calculated mastery of human behavior, an intricate game of anticipation, influence, and psychological precision. Number 3, mastering strategic patience and calculated aggression. Ruthless leaders understand that timing is the invisible lever of power. While impulsive action often leads to chaos or failure, patience coupled with strategic aggression produces results that seem effortless to observers. This is not mere passivity. It is deliberate, calculated restraint, observing circumstances, waiting for the precise moment when intervention yields maximum impact. Strategic patience is a mark of mastery because it transforms human behavior, turning natural hesitation, uncertainty, and expectation into a tool. When the moment arrives, actions appear decisive, bold, and unstoppable, leaving rivals scrambling to respond. The core of this strategy lies in observation. Leaders monitor their environment carefully, noting opportunities, threats, and weaknesses in both allies and adversaries. They track alliances, track patterns of behavior, and assess resources and morale. Every interaction becomes data, every conversation a potential clue, every movement a hint toward a greater design. By gathering information and resisting the urge to act prematurely, the leader can plan interventions with precision. This discipline often goes unnoticed because patience is silent, and its benefits only emerge when the action is finally taken. Strategic aggression complements patience. A leader who can strike with precision, decisiveness, and overwhelming effect gains advantages disproportionate to effort. This aggression is not reckless. It is carefully prepared and executed to maximize leverage while minimizing risk. It exploits the moment of vulnerability, whether in a rival's confidence, a subordinate's hesitation, or a systemic weakness, and converts it into advantage. The combination of patient observation and calculated action ensures that the leader is always several steps ahead, appearing omniscient, unshakable, and inevitably victorious. A key component of this duality is the manipulation of expectations. Leaders manage what others anticipate, creating illusions of action or inaction. By signaling intentions ambiguously, they force others to make decisions based on incomplete information. Rivals may act prematurely, revealing weaknesses. Allies may align themselves to perceived opportunities, unaware they are following a controlled narrative. Mastery of expectation turns human cognition into a predictable instrument of influence. Those who believe they understand the situation are, in reality, maneuvered into positions advantageous to the leader. Ruthless leaders also recognize that perception of strength is often more influential than strength itself. A well-timed show of force, decisiveness, or control can discourage challenges without actual conflict. The art lies in knowing when to act and when to let inaction speak for itself. In some cases, restraint signals calculated superiority, creating fear and respect simultaneously. Those who anticipate aggression but see deliberate patience hesitate, unsure of when or where the next move will strike. This uncertainty magnifies the leader's power because people react not just to what they see, but to what they imagine. Another critical aspect of strategic patience is the management of resources and energy. Leaders understand that human and material capital are finite, and that wasteful or premature action depletes reserves unnecessarily. By conserving strength until the most opportune moment, they ensure that every decision has maximum impact. This applies not only to physical or financial resources, but to political influence, social capital, and psychological leverage. Strategic patience becomes a form of power amplification. Minimal input generates maximal output. The interplay of patience and aggression is also psychological. Leaders leverage uncertainty, anticipation, and fear to control behavior. Subordinates who are unsure when or how the leader will act are more likely to comply proactively. Rivals uncertain of the leader's next move may hesitate, miscalculate, or overcommit. By controlling timing and action, leaders manipulate not only events, but the decision-making processes of others. Psychological mastery in this context is inseparable from strategic mastery. The two reinforce one another. Calculating risk is another dimension of this strategy. Ruthless leaders constantly assess the potential consequences of action or inaction. Every initiative, confrontation, or negotiation is weighed against potential rewards, costs, and alternative scenarios. Leaders do not act for the sake of movement. They act when the calculated advantage outweighs the risk, often exploiting the overconfidence or misjudgment of others. By minimizing exposure to danger while maximizing impact, they maintain dominance while others gamble recklessly. Patience also provides the opportunity for adaptation. Circumstances change, alliances shift, and resources fluctuate. A leader who can wait, observe, and reassess can adapt strategies to evolving realities. ensuring that interventions remain effective even as conditions change. Flexibility combined with patience is a hallmark of enduring power. Those who rush risk rigidity. Those who wait without insight risk passivity. Mastery lies in the balance. Patient observation with a readiness to strike decisively when conditions are ideal. Leaders who excel in this domain also understand the value of strategic timing in communication. Words, promises, threats, or directives delivered at the right moment carry greater weight than constant declarations. Silence, delayed instructions, or selective revelation of information create psychological leverage. Subordinates and rivals are forced to act with incomplete knowledge, guided subtly by the leader's control of timing. The leader's actions become the standard against which all responses are measured, reinforcing authority and reinforcing the perception of inevitability. Finally, the combination of strategic patience and calculated aggression fosters long-term credibility and fearlessness. Allies respect the leader's foresight and careful planning. Rivals fear the unpredictability and effectiveness of action. Over time, this duality creates an aura of mastery that transcends individual actions. The leader is not judged by a single victory or decision, but by the consistent application of timing, observation, and precision. Their presence alters the behavior of everyone in the system, even in their absence, because the expectation of eventual, decisive action shapes decisions preemptively. In essence, this strategy teaches that true power is often invisible until revealed. Patience is not weakness and aggression is not chaos. Combined, they create a rhythm that controls people, events, and perception. Ruthless leaders understand that human behavior is malleable, and by carefully choosing when to wait and when to act, they orchestrate outcomes far beyond the reach of those who rely solely on brute force or impulse. The mastery of timing, observation, and calculated aggression transforms ordinary influence into enduring domination, ensuring that every move, every decision, and every reaction aligns with the leader's ultimate objectives. Number 4, exploiting weaknesses without detection. Ruthless leaders know that true power is often invisible, and the most effective strategy is to exploit weaknesses without leaving a trace. Open confrontation or overt aggression alerts rivals, galvanizes opposition, and wastes energy. Instead, the mastery lies in subtlety, identifying vulnerabilities in systems, individuals, and relationships, and applying pressure in ways that appear natural, inevitable, or even coincidental. Exploiting weaknesses discreetly ensures that the leader maintains dominance without inciting direct resistance, creating a silent but absolute advantage. The first step in this strategy is meticulous observation. Leaders spend time studying patterns, habits, and tendencies, both in allies and adversaries. They notice repeated mistakes, emotional triggers, and behavioral inconsistencies. A seemingly minor oversight by a rival, an impulsive comment, a neglected responsibility, a hidden fear, becomes a potential lever for influence or control. By cataloging these vulnerabilities, leaders construct a mental map of influence, identifying where pressure can be applied for maximum effect. Understanding human psychology is crucial. Leaders recognize that emotional states often dictate decisions more than rational thought. Anxiety, overconfidence, envy, or insecurity can be leveraged to create self-doubt, hesitation, or miscalculation in others. For instance, a rival's pride can be subtly provoked, pushing them into rash decisions that weaken their position. Conversely, fear can be gently amplified to encourage compliance or retreat. The subtle manipulation of emotions allows leaders to direct outcomes without overt confrontation, turning human weaknesses into strategic advantages. Timing is integral to exploiting weaknesses. A leader must act when vulnerabilities are most pronounced and conditions are favorable. Premature exploitation may reveal intent or allow the target to recover, while delayed action might miss the moment of maximum leverage. Strategic timing also amplifies the impact of small actions. A carefully placed word, a delayed decision, or an unseen maneuver can have cascading effects that dramatically shift power balances. The art lies in patience combined with precision, ensuring that every move strikes at the optimal point. Ruthless leaders also excel at camouflage. Actions that manipulate or exploit weaknesses are often masked within routine operations, neutral exchanges, or harmless gestures. By integrating strategy into normal activity, leaders avoid detection and reduce the likelihood of resistance. Allies may unwittingly facilitate the plan, and adversaries may misinterpret actions as coincidences or benign events. This concealment of intent ensures that control is maintained while the appearance of normalcy persists, a critical element in sustaining long-term dominance. Leveraging relationships is another aspect of this strategy. Leaders often use intermediaries, networks, and alliances to apply influence indirectly. Subtle suggestions, recommendations, or pressures from trusted individuals can guide behavior without revealing the leader's direct involvement. By using social structures, leaders can manipulate outcomes while maintaining plausible deniability. The perception that decisions are autonomous enhances the effectiveness of influence, as targets act under the illusion of freedom while being subtly guided toward the leader's desired outcome. Deception and misinformation complement the exploitation of weaknesses. Strategic leaders provide selective truths, conceal critical details, or present information in a way that shapes perception advantageously. Misinformation can cause rivals to misjudge situations, overcommit resources, or misprioritize objectives. The goal is not to destroy overtly, but to steer subtly, allowing the target's own decisions to create self-inflicted disadvantages. By combining observation, timing, and subtle influence, leaders convert apparent weakness into a mechanism for control. Exploiting systemic weaknesses is equally vital. Organizations, governments, and institutions often contain gaps, inconsistencies, or inefficiencies. Ruthless leaders identify these gaps and maneuver within or around them, achieving outcomes that appear effortless. Whether it is a bureaucratic loophole, a neglected process, or a misaligned hierarchy, strategic leaders convert structural flaws into leverage. This not only achieves immediate objectives, but also reinforces the perception of competence and foresight. Psychological pressure is applied carefully. Leaders understand that overt confrontation can provoke resistance, but subtle pressure can produce compliance. Encouraging competition among rivals, planting doubt in decision-making, or amplifying the consequences of small errors can induce a sense of inevitability. Targets may act against their own interests, responding to perceived threats that the leader has orchestrated without direct involvement. The result is a seamless control over outcomes with minimal overt action. Another critical component is adaptability. Exploitation requires constant monitoring and adjustment. Vulnerabilities shift, circumstances change, and people learn. A leader must continuously reassess targets, modify approaches, and anticipate responses. Flexibility ensures that influence remains effective even as variables evolve. Stubborn adherence to a single tactic risks exposure, whereas dynamic adaptation maintains the appearance of effortless dominance. Ruthless leaders also harness the power of information asymmetry. Knowledge is power, and those who understand what others do not can guide decisions, anticipate moves, and exploit weaknesses with impunity. Controlling information flow allows leaders to conceal intent, create uncertainty, and manipulate expectations. When rivals operate with incomplete knowledge, they are more likely to make errors or act predictably, providing opportunities for strategic advantage. Finally, leaders recognize the importance of leaving no evidence. The most dangerous manipulation is invisible manipulation. By ensuring that actions, suggestions, and interventions cannot be traced, leaders prevent retaliation and sustain long-term control. The target remains unaware, allies remain cooperative, and the leader's power consolidates silently. The ultimate mastery lies in achieving dominance without visible effort, creating an environment where the leader's influence is felt but never directly challenged. In essence, exploiting weaknesses without detection is an art that combines observation, psychology, timing, deception, and adaptability. Leaders who master this skill operate like invisible architects of behavior, shaping outcomes while remaining unseen. Every vulnerability, every misstep, and every emotional response becomes a tool to orchestrate events and maintain authority. This strategy ensures that power is not only attained but preserved, often in ways that observers fail to recognize until it is too late. Ruthless leaders are not merely strong, they are imperceptibly precise, using subtlety as a weapon that guarantees dominance with minimal resistance. Number 5. Controlling perception to shape. Reality. Ruthless leaders understand that reality is not fixed. It is shaped by perception. The The way people perceive events, intentions, and outcomes can determine influence far more than brute force or authority. Leaders who master perception control essentially manipulate the lens through which others view the world, bending opinions, emotions, and expectations to align with their objectives. The core principle is simple yet profound. If you can control what people see, you control what they believe, and once belief is directed, behavior inevitably follows. The first step in perception control is consistency. Leaders craft an image that aligns with their goals and then reinforce it relentlessly. Every public statement, gesture, and action is carefully calibrated to support the narrative they wish to instill. Consistency breeds trust, or at least the illusion of it. People are naturally drawn to those whose actions match their words. And once a consistent pattern is established, leaders gain authority not through coercion, but through the credibility of their projected persona. This credibility becomes a powerful tool for influence, as decisions are accepted without question, and challenges to authority are minimized. Managing visibility is equally critical. Leaders know when to be seen and when to remain in the shadows. Strategic exposure creates influence. Strategic absence prevents vulnerability. Appearing too often or inappropriately can reveal flaws or invite scrutiny, while disappearing at key moments can generate anticipation, mystery, or deference. By controlling presence, leaders shape the narrative without uttering a word, allowing perception to be influenced by timing as much as content. This careful balance ensures that attention remains focused on intended objectives rather than unplanned distractions. Symbolism and imagery are potent tools in shaping perception. Leaders employ visual cues, rituals, and narratives that evoke emotions and reinforce authority. Symbols, whether a ceremonial uniform, a unique workspace, or a consistent posture, convey messages subconsciously. People respond emotionally to these symbols, often overestimating competence, confidence, or power. By mastering the semiotics of influence, leaders embed control into the subconscious perceptions of others, making compliance feel natural and unavoidable. Language, too, is a weapon in perception control. Ruthless leaders choose words with precision, shaping how information is received and interpreted. Framing is critical. The same event can be presented as a threat, an opportunity, a success, or a failure depending on how it is described. Leaders who master framing guide interpretation, ensuring that even adverse events can reinforce their narrative. Subtle phrasing, repetition, and emphasis allow leaders to dominate the interpretive landscape, controlling not only what people know, but how they feel about what they know. The manipulation of expectation is another cornerstone of perception control. Leaders establish standards, project intentions, and suggest outcomes in ways that make their preferred reality appear inevitable. When people anticipate a particular result, they unconsciously act to fulfill that expectation, a phenomenon known as the self-fulfilling prophecy. Leaders leverage this psychological tendency by projecting confidence, predicting success, or hinting at inevitability. As individuals adjust their behavior to align with these expectations, the leader's influence expands without overt intervention. Information asymmetry amplifies perception control. Leaders who know more than others can shape belief while remaining largely invisible. Selective disclosure, partial truths, or even silence can guide perception without revealing full intent. In contrast, rivals or subordinates who operate without complete information are more likely to misinterpret situations, overreact, or follow prescribed paths set by the leader. By controlling what others know, leaders control what they believe, effectively shaping reality to their advantage. Crisis management provides a practical application of perception control. Leaders who can frame adversity, whether organizational failure, public criticism, or internal dissent, are able to convert potential weakness into an image of resilience and strategic acumen. By emphasizing recovery, framing setbacks as lessons, or highlighting decisive action, leaders ensure that perception aligns with authority and competence, even when circumstances are challenging. The ability to transform crises into narratives of strength differentiates effective leaders from the mediocre, as perception often becomes the only measure of success in the eyes of followers. Strategic alliances also play a role in shaping perception. Aligning with respected figures, influencers, or institutions enhances credibility and projects power by association. Conversely, distancing from controversial or unreliable entities mitigates negative impressions. By carefully curating relationships, leaders manipulate the broader context in which they are perceived, reinforcing desired narratives and obscuring vulnerabilities. This external framing allows leaders to control not only how they are seen, but also how the environment interprets their actions. Ruthless leaders also recognize the power of repetition. Repeating key messages, behaviors, and symbols embeds them into collective consciousness, normalizing certain beliefs or expectations. The human mind tends to accept repeated information as true, and over time, repeated narratives solidify into perceived reality. Leaders who master repetition can transform perception without overt enforcement, creating an environment where followers internalize the leader's perspective as natural and self-evident. Another critical component is the management of rumors and narrative gaps. When information is missing, humans instinctively fill the void, often imagining scenarios that may not exist. Leaders who understand this tendency can strategically omit, delay, or subtly direct information to guide these mental constructions. By shaping the gaps, they ensure that imagination works in their favor, reinforcing influence and perception without direct intervention. Finally, the ultimate goal of controlling perception is to make the leader's desired reality self-sustaining. When people act based on perception rather than objective reality, they inadvertently support the leader's agenda, often without conscious awareness. Compliance, respect, fear, and admiration become automatic responses, reducing the need for coercion. The leader's authority becomes entrenched, not through force, but through the invisible architecture of belief and expectation that has been meticulously constructed and maintained. In conclusion, controlling perception is a strategy that transcends traditional notions of power. By influencing what others see, believe, and expect, ruthless leaders shape reality itself. Through consistency, timing, symbolism, language, expectation management, information control, crisis framing, strategic alliances, repetition, and manipulation of narrative gaps, leaders ensure that the world operates according to their design. Influence becomes not a matter of direct confrontation, but a subtle, pervasive force that guides actions, thoughts, and beliefs. The mastery of perception control is the mark of true strategic brilliance, creating dominance that is felt in every decision and interaction, often without being consciously recognized. Number 6. Turning fear into an ally. Fear is a tool that ruthless leaders wield with precision. While most people see fear as a weakness, masters of influence understand that it is one of the most powerful levers of control when applied strategically. Leaders do not aim to create blind terror or chaos. Instead, they shape fear in ways that motivate, manipulate, and align behavior with their objectives. Fear, when controlled and calibrated, becomes an invisible engine that drives loyalty, compliance, and respect. The first principle in using fear effectively is understanding its psychological mechanics. Fear triggers heightened alertness, emotional intensity, and a focus on self-preservation. Leaders exploit these reactions by framing their presence, decisions, or potential consequences in ways that direct attention toward desired behaviors. For instance, emphasizing the cost of disobedience, the consequences of failure, or the benefits of alignment can channel fear into action rather than rebellion. By managing the stakes, leaders convert anxiety into a tool for shaping decisions. Timing is critical when deploying fear. Leaders know that fear loses power if overused or applied indiscriminately. Constant threats or punishment dull sensitivity, creating apathy or defiance. Conversely, well-timed interventions, when stakes are high or outcomes uncertain, maximize psychological impact. Leaders often combine fear with moments of relief or reward, creating a cycle of tension and release that reinforces authority and dependence. This intermittent approach keeps subordinates engaged and responsive, ensuring that fear remains a motivator rather than a destabilizing force. Symbolic actions amplify the effect of fear. Leaders use visible demonstrations of power or consequence to create lasting impressions. These actions may not need to be repeated frequently. A single decisive move can resonate for months or years. Publicly addressing failure, enforcing strict rules, or showcasing consequences for disloyalty sends a clear signal. Compliance is prudent, defiance is costly. Symbolic fear is less about terrorizing individuals and more about setting the parameters of acceptable behavior. It establishes a psychological environment where authority is unquestioned because the potential cost of opposition is real and immediate. Ruthless leaders also combine fear with respect to maximize influence. Fear without respect breeds resentment or subversion. Respect without fear risks being ignored or challenged. The optimal balance ensures that subordinates recognize competence and authority while understanding the consequences of crossing boundaries. Leaders cultivate respect through skill, decisiveness, and vision, then use fear selectively to reinforce those qualities. When fear and respect coexist, obedience is not forced. It becomes voluntary, motivated by the recognition of power and the desire to remain aligned with it. Another key aspect is using fear to guide decision-making. By highlighting potential threats, pitfalls, or risks, leaders shape the choices others make, steering behavior toward predetermined outcomes. Subordinates often act defensively, not realizing they are following a path designed by the leader. This indirect manipulation leverages natural human instincts, allowing influence to operate subtly. Fear thus becomes a navigational instrument, directing actions without overt coercion, creating an environment where compliance feels self-generated. Emotional intelligence is essential in turning fear into an ally. Leaders must gauge the sensitivity, temperament, and resilience of their audience. Some individuals respond well to cautionary warnings, others to calculated intimidation, and some to strategic unpredictability. Ruthless leaders observe reactions, adjust tactics, and calibrate intensity accordingly. Misjudging these factors can backfire, leading to panic, rebellion, or loss of credibility. Mastery lies in fine-tuning fear so that it motivates without destabilizing, empowering the leader to guide behavior predictably and effectively. Fear can also be used to consolidate internal cohesion. When teams or followers are aware of external threats, competitors, crises, or consequences of failure, leaders can unite groups by positioning themselves as the protector or strategist capable of navigating danger. By framing challenges in terms of shared risk and demonstrating the ability to manage it, leaders generate loyalty and collaboration. Fear becomes a bonding agent, aligning individual priorities with collective objectives, while positioning the leader as indispensable. Strategic storytelling reinforces fear-based influence. Leaders craft narratives emphasizing danger, potential failure, or the consequences of negligence. Stories create vivid mental models, making abstract risks tangible and memorable. Through repetition, vivid examples, and emotionally charged scenarios, leaders embed lessons that shape behavior over time. The narrative becomes a framework through which decisions are filtered, ensuring that fear informs choices even in the absence of direct oversight. Crises are prime opportunities for leveraging fear. A well-handled crisis not only demonstrates competence but also reinforces authority through controlled fear. Leaders who act decisively, communicate expectations, and emphasize consequences strengthen their influence. Subordinates internalize the leader's approach, adjusting behavior proactively to align with the demonstrated standards. Fear, in this context, becomes a reinforcing tool, enhancing both reputation and control. Finally, ruthless leaders understand that fear is ultimately about perception. The goal is not to instill constant terror, but to ensure that power is respected and decisions are anticipated. By maintaining an aura of capability, decisiveness, and readiness to act, leaders shape expectations, creating a psychological environment where compliance, diligence, and respect become automatic. When fear is used judiciously, it transforms from a destructive force into a constructive mechanism for maintaining influence, guiding behavior, and securing long-term dominance. In conclusion, turning fear into an ally is a hallmark of strategic mastery. Leaders who understand its mechanics, timing, symbolic power, emotional nuance, and narrative potential harness fear not as a weapon of destruction, but as a subtle instrument of control. Fear becomes a force that motivates, aligns, and consolidates power without overt coercion. By blending fear with respect, emotional intelligence, and strategic communication, ruthless leaders ensure that influence is felt across all levels, creating an environment where authority is not merely recognized, it is internalized, anticipated, and rarely challenged.